An impromptu with Rate It Green and Subject to Change.
Matt Hoots here with Rated Green, and I've got Jody here with Subject2Change. Um, Amazing content creator. She's got a YouTube channel and a blog with hundreds of posts. I actually went through quite a few of those, enjoyed reading those on various topics regarding sustainability and also just thoughts that she has in general about life, living, and what we should be doing. So, Jody, can you explain to our audience a little bit about what your channel and your blog is all about and what you're trying to achieve with those?
Talking about Subject to Change.
Subject to Change is a brainchild of myself and Lauren Stanek. And what we're doing is we're functioning as co-interviewers to reach out and find out about different people outside of the green building industry and inside of the green building industry to talk about sustainability.
It's really about the community.
We have come to realize that sustainability is about much more than swapping out your tech or working on energy efficiency. It's about community. It's about how you learn. It's about how you raise your kids. It's about all of it. It's about health. So we want to learn, and we thought that while we were learning, we would create it in a format that we could share. So Subject to Change is the YouTube site, which is very exciting. And we are producing videos about 15 to 30 minutes long, but then also short little bites called 2 minutes to change so that you can have quick access to great information about everyone and everything they're doing.
And it only takes 2 minutes to change.
Even if you learn in little tiny pieces, you're learning and growing and connecting, and that's what it's all about.
Our URL?
I've got links in the description. Sure. But what is your URL for your blog?
I would, you know what? Actually, that's a great question. What is our URL? I should probably have that handy when I talk with people.
Got it. I promise it wasn't a trick question. I'll edit that out.
I'm not embarrassed about learning something new, so we're good. I can tell you that if you Google Subject2Change with the number 2 in the middle, and then -sustainability, you will find our site right off the bat. Subject2Change sustainability.
Let's hear more about Rate It Green.
You've included Allison here, Allison Friedman, who created Rate It Green, 15 years ago, and I've absolutely forgotten how Allison and I have met. But I would love to hear, Allison, about you and your offerings on YouTube as well.
Well, thank you, Jody. It is great to be here with you, someone who's both an expert and a sharer. And I think it's absolutely fitting. I love that you talked about community and just continuing to learn, and that you're sharing what you know. That's the whole core of Rate It Green.
Building a network and a directory.
The platform is a directory and a network for the green building industry, and that is both for professionals, for people who aren't working in the business, who are just interested in green building, do-it-yourselfers, we could say, but also educators, students, anyone who's interested in green building and in sustainable materials, products, best practices, services. And the idea is to bring all of these people, organizations, companies together and to share what we know.
The energy.
There's so much energy in the room when you get green builders together, and almost every speaker, keynote, or panelist that I hear says, we have got to share all our examples. We've got to share our stories. We've got to get these examples out. And then the question is just, how do we do that? And you're doing that through your blog, through your podcast, and your videos. And our way of doing that is through this platform, where the idea is that individuals can join our directory, companies and nonprofit organizations and any other type of initiative or organization can join. So in one sense, it's a list where we bring everyone together to see who's here. But more importantly than that, the idea is interactivity and communicating and sharing information. Good. So we've got discussions, groups, articles that can be written. We've got news, we've got an event calendar. And with green builder Matt Hoots' help, we've now really gotten our YouTube channel going. And so I think that the challenge for everyone is, what can you speak on? What can you share?
Blast it out and amplify it.
When people give us that content, We get out there on our social media channels, currently 22 and growing, and we just blast and amplify that information out there. And the idea is there's got to be someone, first of all, if you have a question, I think an important thing to tell people is if you have a question, someone else does too. But also if you have something to share, there's someone out there who's going to want to learn about that. And sometimes it's about also giving people in the industry confidence. Like they think, oh, I only know this, I'm not quite an expert. If there's something you've learned on a project, if you've got things you wish you knew, someone else would love to hear that. And so as much of that information as we can get out there, that's our goal to do that. And I think like you, my goal and our goal as an organization is to just get to a point where every building is a green building and a healthy building, and that everyone can afford to live in a healthy and green building. Yeah. And we can only do that if we're sharing information with each other.
I absolutely agree. That's marvelous. And the content on your site just blows my mind. I'm just starting to get into it, and there's a ton of great information there that I really hope more people start to access, and whatever I can do to help. This is great. Thank you for your help too.
Oh, thank you so much.
And there is still work to do.
Green building as a whole is still in its infancy. So for us to sit back and rest on our laurels and say, hey, we've got this figured out. I'm like, there's certain things we figured out, certain laws of physics aren't going to change. And I mean, some of the building techniques that we're using now that are adopted by some of the top high performance builders probably weren't like one of them, like when you look at the perfect wall concept, wasn't really even discussed until 2010. That's 10 years ago. And now people are adopting it. So we're constantly looking at better ways of building, living, and working with each other. And the only way for these ideas to be better developed is on platforms like the two of you have created, and have those active discussions and sharing the content with each other.
Share often.
With your voices and your platforms is just to continue, like Allison said, to amplify that, share the information, but also document it. And by putting it in writing, creating the videos, it's great to have these conferences, and we'll have these breakout sessions. And it's like, okay, if you weren't one of the 15 people in that room, that information, that knowledge could be lost, unfortunately. So we have to document this, and we have to make sure that we are sharing this and looking back on it to see where we started and how we're going to continue to grow.
That's one of my biggest worries when I hear fantastic information. Sometimes, I'm glad you said that, Matt, is it's within these walls, it's within this room. How do we get that information to as many people and organizations as possible? Yeah. It's too valuable not to share.
Right, and a lot of people post things on websites just thinking that means they're communicating. Well, I'm sorry, websites and YouTube pages, it goes there to die unless you reach out and share it actively. So this is a good reminder to me to be doing that. I don't know how many times I've taken one of the blogs that I've written over the years and used it to reinforce a point that was part of a meeting or that was part of a discussion that was totally unrelated to why I wrote the blog post. But what that does then again is reinforce and amplify the information, and then things stick with people when they hear it from several different sources. So having this connection too between Rate It Green and Subject to Change is going to help things stick, because when there's maybe on our channel there's a general statement or something that introduces curiosity, it would be very easy to point to the technical information or deeper dive that might be on your site. So that could be really exciting.
Much thanks for the co-support.
And Matt, I took that end little interview from you, and I'm really glad that you gave us a chance to talk and produce some content for our sites while promoting the good information and celebrating the successes that everyone has along the way.
Thank you to Allison and Matt from Rate It Green, and I am Jody Smits-Anderson from Subject to Change. Be well.